as the excitement was starting to build around the topic and people saw that maybe there's a more technical solution to this, there's excitement and adoption, but there wasn't wide scale change. What then led, and so that was 2015, but by 2018, we got to the Dear Auditor letter. Like, whoa.
Nothing changed. Nothing changed until, and even in 2019, I thought that paper was going to roll off the shelf. I thought there were going to be 10 vendors doing it. No, because it was an important paper. It was clear that there was so much toil, and it was so there was really no efficacy in the process, right? It was theater, and really it didn't really get on the shelf until Investments Unlimited, in my opinion. That's what really sort of like, all those things were great for people in the know, but it was sort of, you had to have like a little bit of audit background. You had to be in an institution. You had to have all these sort of ingredients to understand what Dear Auditor meant. Like, unless you were Shannon Leach, you didn't really get how powerful that was.
And there were attempts too. I remember like at this conference after the publication of Dear Auditor, and then again with the reference architecture, there were several sessions where auditors were invited in, right? And there were roundtable discussions, and there was a real attempt to connect and understand.
Well, John, you went and consulted with a number of very large enterprises and a lot of different industries about what they were doing in DevOps practices and evolving and transforming their organizations. Did you go into those organizations and see this barrier of governance that they were all kind of running into? And
so there were sort of conflicting things, right? First off, we had DevOps, right? And people argue with me, but I would say for the first half of the DevOps, 10 years DevOps, I would take my hat and I'd throw it on the stage. We forgot security. And then the DevSecOps thing. But that was, and then I think the industry still conflates ITSec with IT audit, right? Like they're not the same thing. One protects the brand, one protects the infrastructure, right? And so you have the DevSecOps. Is that audit? Is that governance? Is that GRC? I don't know. And then so that's steamrolling. And again, a lot to what you and Mark had done at Sonatype, right? And then, and that's steamrolling. And then this thing's happening sort of in a corner of, oh, by the way, there's a whole problem of like, we can put all the tools on the supply chain and do all this stuff. But if we're not dealing with the 3 lines of defense and dealing with the internal auditor, and there's a complete disconnect, and I think in some of my conversations with you guys would be like, this is killing me, John. We like that is such a broken conversation. And so I think that led to what is this thing? Most people think audit is ITSec, right? And so, and I think that, even to now, I think people are just starting to get it with, some great vendor products out there now. And, but yeah,
you're absolutely right. We sometimes conflate security and audit. It's not about only security. Security is just part of that. There are other things. Hey, I mean, think of you the old days when you actually had to go to a review board, change approval board, or change review board.
Old days, that's right.
I printed document as attestation, if you will.
Yeah.
Hey, and then somebody will say, Damon, did you test it? Yep, I tested it, and such people tested on such and such date, and
But you signed on the wrong
And here's
line.
Right.
Just the screen print, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and then who is on call? Okay, that person is on call. And then who is deploying? Okay, did that person write the code? No, that person doesn't know anything about the code. He's just deploying.
It's obviously their best qualified player. So, I think what's interesting we're talking about, which is, there's a reality of work. A large organization, it's just kind of a nation state unto itself, right? And there's a map, right? These maps go to different teams and different budgets and whatnot. And when the big problems lie between those budget areas, right? Until the map is changed, right? There's you just can't engage, right? You get some weird people that have cross domain knowledge, and they just basically are the people yelling and screaming that are like, that and we're like, they're always complaining, right? Because it just doesn't fit. It might be, I think, slower than building than the overall DevOps movement did, right? But DevOps movement kind of happened when it became a thing, right? Going to the cloud, that flash between, but it became a thing. And then we can all put our emphasis on it. We made DevOps teams, like whatever you think about that, it's still put the emphasis on. And I think even with this problem, it's just becoming, I think, apparent to people that we'll never be less regulated than we are today, right? And we're barely keeping our head above water now. So, I think the automated governance, or you want to call it movement, I think is so important because it's going to hopefully continue to make it a thing. And once it's a thing, and the CIOs and the CTOs think about it like a thing, then we can put effort into that.
Yeah.
And otherwise, it's extracurricular activity, kind of trying to make things right. Oh well, because it was just no man's land in the middle.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Well, I mean, I just remember it being such a vague problem, especially as I waded into it. We had no idea what good looked like. I need to go to production now. Here's what I got. Oh, now go talk to this person, right? Go talk to this person. And I found out that nobody in the organization actually knew the entire thing top down, except for, funny enough, the Scrum Masters. They know. What we solved with Investments Unlimited was telling the story of the emotions that people go through in this organization, the frustration, because I think it's very tough to visualize what good looks like.
The idea was those questions that change approval would ask. Can I actually make that available based on the data that I collected from my engineering practices? That's the whole purpose. And if I can you trust it?